Hey there, everybody. I'm Chris Metzler, Director of Programming here at SF Indie Fest. It's really great to have you here. Um, yes, as you might have heard, the word on the street is we've been doing this for 25 years, putting on SF Indie Fest on lots of cool venues around the Bay Area. Over the years, we've had a chance to screen lots of interesting films from around the world, and filmmakers keep on coming up with some cool stories to tell. And so we're thankful to be able to have done this for the last 25 years. I don't think our founder, Jeff Ross, ever imagined that this would have become his life, but he really loves kind of championing independent films and their spirit. And you're lucky enough to have seen this really wonderful documentary, Naked Gardens, and we're lucky enough to have Director Patrick Bresnan here. Thanks again for joining us, Patrick.
Thank you, Chris. It's an honor.
So this was a really neat film to kind of run across, and I think one of the things that many in the audience might wonder is like, how did you kind of stumble upon the story and know it was kind of a film in the making?
Sure. We've been working in Central Florida for some time. We had made several short films there and a feature called Pahokee. I think about 2014, I saw a newspaper article about the nudist resort, and it had a picture of the owner on the cover of the Palm Beach Post, and it said nudist resort gets back to normal after stabbing, and the owner was smiling. And I'm a big fan of Diane Arbus. Toward the end of her life, she spent a lot of time at nudist resorts and photographing them. And she always looked for the most rundown nudist resorts in the Northeast and in Maryland. And I felt drawn to nudist resorts myself as a student of photography of the human body, and anything in Florida is really going to have a surreal component because of the landscape. So anyway, we were shooting Pahokee, and I was in a Costco parking lot getting groceries, and a lady came up to me. It was a Friday night, and she said, "You know, the nudist resort is free tonight. We have our first Friday drum circle. You should come." And maybe it was because I have long hair, and they're trying to recruit young people because it's kind of a dying past cultural phenomenon or pastime. And so I had always wanted to go to this place, and I think being invited really opened the door that it was something I had to do. So anyway, yeah, that's how it kind of came together.
That's so neat. And what was like that first night there, and how did you kind of broach the subject of like filming, and was there any trepidation, or did they kind of welcome you with open arms?
Yeah, I co-directed this with my wife, and it really helps to have two people, both a male and a female energy, to create a space for people to be comfortable around the camera. So at first, we didn't shoot anything. We just went and got to know people and became comfortable with the idea of being naked ourselves in public.
Hmm.
I had lived in San Francisco, and I love the I think, is it the Bay to Breakers run, where I was there in the 90s and people used to run naked, and Fulton Street. I mean, I was really comfortable with public nudity, but I was never naked at any of those events. So it's a big transition to share yourself with others. So in the beginning, it was just about learning how to respect what they were doing there in creating a private space for people to be safe and unclothed, and then learning to feel comfortable with our own bodies before we could film others.
It's such an interesting process. I mean, there's this kind of larger discussion in the documentary world, you know, about, this kind of trying to eliminate that wall, that sometimes the camera can create between, I guess, the camera and the subject matter. So what, you excuse me, cold, not COVID, thankfully enough. Um, what was that process like? Did it kind of change the way that you utilize the camera to kind of capture the story? And then also, is there kind of just a way that you kind of approach your storytelling? I mean, if folks haven't had a chance to see some of your previous films, they're really wonderful, and would encourage folks to kind of search them out after the festival. But yeah, how did this kind of process of getting in touch with your body and being part of this community kind of change the way that you filmed or kind of approached the story?
Sure. I think I wouldn't say we consider I've never considered myself a documentary filmmaker. It's just a way that we've been able to kind of transition from still photography into allowing those images to speak and move about. And
Hmm.
when we make films, we're very much students of Wiseman. So, but we try not to view people view things as a subject or an institution. So, we, in the sense that we're like him, we try to record the world unfolding, and we record, a minimum of 100 hours, because it takes so long for life to unfold naturally when the camera is present. It's almost like you have to stand there and hold the camera for about 90 hours to get 10 hours that's maybe editable. And it's very emotional and somewhere near feeling or being real. But I really believe that what we're doing is just a different type of fiction, in that we record so much information and then we spend a year manipulating it. Not manipulating what people say, but constructing it. So I hope I didn't get off on a tangent there.
No, I think that provides some cool, insight. I mean, not to get into the minutia so much, but I could imagine that in these kind of more, kind of this kind of Frederick Wiseman style aesthetic, like, how do you be patient, I guess, or how do you stay engaged during the entire thing? I mean, is there a way that you kind of prepare your mind, or is it a kind of the nature of who you are?
Yeah, well, I feel like the luckiest person alive, that I just get to hold a camera and record life, as opposed to when we're in production, it's just like a heavenly state, because you're able to be very present with people.
Mm.
And so we really throw ourselves into the world. For this film, we spend a lot of time talking to people without the camera, drinking beer, going to birthday parties, having cookouts with people. All of these kind of communal rituals are really important to create trust. And with some of the characters in the film, it took 3 months. Some of the best scenes in the film, the people you see in the scenes didn't want to be filmed for the first 3 or 4 months.
Mm.
So it's a lot of just being present, like you said, but being present is so enjoyable. I've done a lot of things to pay for films, construction work, roofing, excavating. I've just done a lot of stuff to create space to have a little bit of a film career. So when you're actually doing it, it's like a heavenly experience.
That's neat. Obviously, in being in San Francisco, in general, it's still a fairly progressive city, even with some of the changes over the decades. And I think we're maybe a community that's a little bit more celebratory or or accepting of the kind of naturist movement. But I think there's something different between being accepting or tolerant, versus kind of embracing. And so you alluded to this fact of that this is kind of a dying tradition, I guess. Why do you think that is, And this is far from kind of an advocacy piece, but I think that there's kind of the folks that are involved, you can see the beauty in why they want to live their life that way. And what do you think it is that maybe people don't quite understand, or maybe um if they don't like, what is it that you think they understand or maybe miss, I guess, of like why maybe people choose to live or
Sure.
live in that way?
I I think there is a lot of shame that people feel about their bodies, and the idea of sharing who they are under their clothes in a communal space is very scary. I also think that Christianity has done a lot of damage to individuals being able to experience the human body.
Hmm.
I think that there's also this is a resort that's owned by a socialist, and so he takes full responsibility for accidents and things that happen there, and the rent is very cheap. So I think that spaces like this, we lose them to real estate development. And I think also there is a lot of fear about bad actors who go to these places looking for quick sex or to look at naked children, which are both real dangers in going to these type of places. So yeah, I think it's a very difficult proposition for your typical American to go to a place like this.
Well, I'm just so glad that you and your wife decided to kind of take the plunge and kind of spend the time to tell this really wonderfully crafted and interesting story. As we wrap up, is there anything that you wanted to kind of share, or also what are ways that folks can kind of continue to follow the happenings with the film?
Yeah, I think if you like the film, we're easy to find and email. I think if you feel after watching this film like you want to experiment with social nudism, there are a number of great places in Northern California or wherever you are. I really recommend going to a place like this with friends that you feel safe with, and who will help you on the journey of experiencing your body and others' bodies, because it's extremely difficult. But it's also freeing. A lot of things we do are difficult, like not drinking for New Year's resolutions, but learning to love your body, I think, is a really important step to being free of a lot of the programming we get about what we should look like. So I think it's very rewarding if you find a safe place to do it.
Very cool. I think that's a good thing to kind of to ruminate and resonates widely. Well, thanks again for making the film, and we're definitely looking forward to the next film you make too, Patrick.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you everyone for watching.
Awesome. Take care.